imagine a box. And I really want people to because I don't want to do anything. The one you can ready, ready. But inside the most is not a case. But we're looking at our career. And unlike shooting a star, which can be better or alive, with our career, of course, it is uncertainties, but also a lot of opportunities. It can be anything you dreamed of. It can be also anything you really appreciate. It can be success, it can be failure, and everything in between. But we'll only find out if we open the doors. And then we repeat the engineering team with Google Cloud, but with the startup with the lexical field. And by telling you that, probably you already have in mind how we got here. And let me tell you, I think you'll be surprised. Because my path was not linear. It was the one I kept wanting to position, a blend of capabilities, and yes, I'm sorry I'm going to do a lot of those physics points, try the charts, so I already apologize, and they're not funny. And in all along this journey, of course, there were a lot of learnings. And every theory was in physics, you only know if it's a good one if you can expect it. And it's really experiment. You can find it actually in your life. And that also applies to the career. I experienced a lot, but this experiment is crucial to really find out how your talent is. I was taking opportunities as it was going on, but more importantly, I was brave to change things where it didn't work out. So the more I found out about my talents, the smaller those course corrections and adjustments were. So I started with the physicians, and that is what I'm doing all this learning pretty great. And I was super excited about the universe and putting the universe together and all those good things. And just like the electrical current, I followed the path of resistance, and like my peers asking, professor with me in physics, I decided to do a PhD, because that's what I was enough in physics at least. And, I really loved it. I was spending hours and hours in the clean room, in the laboratory, surrounded by microscopes and lasers, doing a lot of data analysis, couple things everywhere. I think we all know it. And of course, I also did, I think, very well familiar to a researcher that what I'm doing is really groundbreaking, and my research is really going to change me. So, after the PhD, there were two natural choices for me what to do. I could continue in academia, or because of what I investigated during my PhD, which was organic electronics, I could join a big chemical corporation that does organic material synthesis themselves, because they would be looking for the very specific skill that I actually learned during my PhD. But I have to process time. I decided research is a place for me. I sent out a lot of applications to top universities in the US, and something I need to tell you about, waiting for the results from those research grant applications, I see some having it takes quite a while, right? So I kind of needed to fill the canal until I was getting the responses if my research was going to continue. So I decided for one beautiful day to join peers of mine to go to a career fair. And I came out with a career fair for creators, which I had real interest in, and I still have continuing drawn to the automotive industry, but lots of nice days to spend with your friends, to see coffee, drinks, snacks, maybe some good thoughts around out. So I went to a career fair, sitting around a bit bored and lost at the same time, again, maybe some superposition of both places. And I found a brief idea, the big picture. And I'm a bit different about it. There's a technology company doing a commodity fair. So seriously, just walked up there and talked to the friendly chap with fancy boots. Turns out he's also a physicist, and he excited to tell me about the hardware engineering lab and building that IBM has that is the chip design for maintenance. And the zero idea of what maintenance are. That's why we obviously can always say something. He was actually very convinced that I have a talent to design a lab. I mean, I was puzzled because I didn't really have the skills. I didn't really know what I was supposed to develop. But there was something about this conviction that intrigued me. So I took the leap of faith and took the jump and actually stayed in my decision, even though after months and months and months of research and proposals that were granted. But honestly, I've already decided let's give it a try with this engineering thing. And I started asking myself, do I really have a raw talent for something that I don't know yet? And do I really have a chance now to deploy that skill into a new environment? And this is where I would like to do a rather unusual analogy. Have you ever thought about how many sports require strength outside of classical track and field 100-meter sprints? There are actually quite a few. There is soccer, there is American football, there is rugby, there is basketball, tennis, all those sports require sprints. And there is also boxing. Yes, boxing. It's a big tournament. I watch winter sports every weekend. And I think boxing is a really interesting thing. Because in a group with two people, there is the pilot who does the steering and the braking, so he's essentially finding goals. And the braking is the one that's for the push athlete. The one that at the beginning is really decisive for the initial acceleration of the bike. And this role requires explosive strength and really, really fast speed. And you know what's interesting? The most successful push athletes in boxing actually started their career in track and field sprinting. And actually just this year, this week actually, one of the most successful German sprinters right now announced that he's moving to boxing next season. So something that is happening here that those athletes, they have this raw talent. They don't have the skill yet in boxing, but they're taking it into the environment, and they become so successful, and sometimes they even become also box pilots themselves. And if you think about it, the successful boxer push athletes, they sprint 100 meters if you can below 11 seconds, which is obviously very, very impressive, but would not quite get you into the top 10 worldwide. However, in boxing, the German athletes, for example, are actually one of the best in the world. So essentially, those athletes taking the skill and becoming more successful athletes, and I think if you think about a career, that's actually a very powerful metaphor. Because what it tells us, or what it reminds us, that we do follow the skill-based approach, we do what we think we learned, but if you think about it, what part of our life we take in the decision what we're learning, it's actually quite early. And we might not necessarily really know what our real talents are. So what if we start exploring those talents? And then figuring out where we can put them to become successful. So I was asking myself, am I now about to become the next boxing push athlete? So boxing is sitting in a family engineering lab at IBM, surrounded by very seasoned engineers, the ones that have the choice to play literature for the winter and winter. And you know what? I hated my job. I really didn't like it. I thought it was boring. I didn't find it exciting because whenever I was asking my engineering colleagues, what are we actually developing? How are people using it? What do our customers say about the product? They didn't really seem to care much about the big picture. They were very narrowly focused on engineering tasks. There was a time a bit less than 10 years ago when also IBM Watson was very big in the news. The early days of the iPod. And again, Lucy started taking some online courses on the side in the evening to get upskilled in what actually useful technology is. And eagerly telling all of my colleagues the next day over lunch how cool it is and maybe it's something I can understand more or learn more. And you wouldn't be surprised. They would actually laugh at me when I ask this technology was my understanding in the future. I think it's one of those people that's really guessing on the next step. So, I need to change something. I was craving cutting edge technology, I was craving human interactions, connecting with customers. And this is why I started looking for other opportunities within IBM and found my way into consulting. And again, I was an engineering colleague, so I moved into consulting. The other thing this is kind of like a clown move. I mean, there is a lot of gardening in consulting for sure, but they were puzzled because, like in most of the technology companies, engineering is considered to be way more prestigious than computing. Even my engineering manager in consulting side was a bit puzzled. There are really people starting consulting and really their way up into engineering. And they are doing the other way around, and they are feeling themselves a bit out. But you know what? I think sometimes we actually need to take a step back to really move forward. And while my hiring manager was a bit puzzled, at the same time he said, I do actually think that you have a good talent for people. Because you are good in building the personal connection to people, you are good in grasping technical content very quickly, but in breaking it down and making it simple so that you can actually really convey it to other people. And in fact, because this is actually when the career really started taking off. I joined Google as a platform engineer, and I was at a sweet spot where I was working with cutting-edge technology and helping customers solve real-life challenges. So my innovative technology changes in my talk, and my extrovert that was looking for human connections and the big stages, finally started making peace. And in my almost 6 years at Google, I continued to embrace the principles that got me there in the first place. I continued to do adjustments whenever I saw an opportunity. I joined the startup team at Google because I was looking for a fast-paced environment also on the customer side. I stepped into a leadership role because I was looking also to see myself on the people side as well, on the people management. But those adjustments became smaller and smaller because in the bigger picture, I actually found a place that was fast-paced enough to feel my curiosity and protect. And now if you think again about the athletes, the ones that decided to get their talent and put it in a different environment and became more successful there, I think this is where I realized that was going to happen to me. For my success, the most decisive thing was to explain my talent, to grasp technological concepts quickly, to be able to break them down and make them simple, and using that ability to build a good personal connection with others to actually convey what the technology is really good for. So essentially, what happened, this thing I was about focus actually, to about Copilot. So now looking back at this journey, there were a lot of learnings. It might seem uncertain and unexpected twists and turns, but the learnings are really key here. So those takeaways from the story of the journey. Experimenting is key. You can do a lot of theories about how things can turn out and what our skill-based approach can lead us to, but finding out our own talents is something that I believe we can only do if we really try this out. Embrace the iteration. It's great to go with the flow and take opportunities as they come, but more importantly is to be brave and change something when you feel that something is not. And remember, sometimes it's needed to take a step back, or maybe the lateral move, and to move forward again. And these are the reflections. Because the more you concentrate, the more you actually learn what the things are, and the more you kind of get attuned to your journey to make adjustments and course corrections that you have to do. And ultimately, when we do something where we plan it, it makes us more excited, it's even more fulfilling, which ultimately also makes us more successful. So just like the universe, full of possibilities, it's also the same for your careers. And each opportunities are creative opportunities. So I challenge you to open that box. And build your inner perspective, and see where this journey with your talent can take you. You might end up being very fulfilled for your journey forward. Just like the first. Thank you so much.